Pasha Paroh, wine at 7. Thank you for tuning. Today, got author, got artiste, got fashion designer, slash, Tracy Stevens from Straight Inc. Tracy, introduce yourself, please.
Hi, my name is Tracy Stevens. The company I own is Straight Inc. Um, I do graphics, I do video editing, I do videos. I've been commissioned to do some writing, and also I have a fashion line in which I call Artwear, WEAR, and Artwear, WARE. So I can furnish your home and I'll also dress you up.
Dang. So, Trace,
Hmm
talking on the channel here lately.
I gotta stand up a little bit. Sorry.
Yeah, was talking on the
I
channel here
need
lately, and been really getting to the core trauma, the involvement in our lives, both known and unknown.
right.
So, what I thought was interesting, the company name of yours, Stray
hmm
Inc.
Yeah.
And ink in the 1200s actually meant originally burnt in, right?
hmm
So, it kind of connected to this conversation we're having on trauma, because if you're not aware of scenarios, scenes, environments, things, whatever, right? You're not aware that you're being affected by traumatic, because your body may mask it.
hmm This
Oh,
is true.
and I got a chance to review some of your art. So tell us about the ink and how you came up with the straight ink. And I think as you speak, we can actually hear the needlework of how it's stitched with trauma.
Yeah. Well, as far as the name is concerned, I was going to Micah and they told us to come up with a name for our business. And Micah, they teach you look to the left of you, look at to the right of you. It always takes three people to own a business. You can't be the smartest person in the room. Somebody that you start the business with has to have their strengths have to match your weaknesses. And then you need one more person who has the strengths that nobody else has and can also to break that tie. But Straight Inc., my name is Tracy Stevens. So I took the last portion of my name and I mean the last portion of my first name and the first portion of my last name, and that's how I ended up with Stray. With ink, I learned artwork and all that just by actually taking an ink pen. I used to draw. I used to sketch. And of course, most people start with a pencil. I just so happened to start with, with a pen. And like what if you make a mistake? And this was like back in elementary school. What if you make a mistake? Well, in artwork, there really are no mistakes. There's just half chances. And, sometimes the pen knows what you're doing. Sometimes the pen doesn't know what you're doing, but you can always create something out of chaos.
Hmm.
So that's the ink part.
That's awesome, because when you think about that, you know, art has a lot of therapeuticness to it, whether
hmm
it's the creator of the content or the consumer. And part of that is colors, right? When we
Yep.
deal with the painting and ink and stuff. So there's this thing called, let me get my notes here, chromotherapy. And
Yeah.
it's the use of the visual spectrum, and apparently it takes the color and light to actually heal both the physical, mental, and spiritual, all of the above, the Trinity, right?
Right. The thing, a lot of people see the color wheel, and the color
Mhm.
wheel gives you exact matches, exact colors. And it tells you what goes what with what and look complementary and what ones are like on opposite sides of the axis. They teach that, but very rarely do they teach you that art has healing. healing products in it. So like think about when you go to a hospital. When you go to a hospital, you always see soft greens, soft blues, soft purples, because those pastel colors actually calm you down. Usually when people see red, they think trauma. When you use pastel colors, it actually, it's a healing, it's a healing sense to it. Like the color lavender. Well, usually when people see the color lavender, which is a light purple, they smell lavender. And you know, lavender has a lot of healing properties. Like this painting that you have up right now.
Yeah, tell us about it.
Well, I've been through something traumatic. An ex-boyfriend of mine broke up with me, asked could we be friends, and then a couple of weeks later he came back and was like, well, you know how you make mistakes, you know, you jump to conclusions, blah blah blah. And he was saying that he was acting out of his feelings, I guess, or something like that. I don't remember the exact words that he said, but he said he found, you know, he realized that he had made a mistake with breaking up with me. But by this time, you know, I was okay with it. So I'm like, you know, that's okay. I'm good. And he's like, well, so you don't want to deal with me anymore? You know, you don't want to be my girlfriend anymore? I was like, no, I think we're better as friends. And I really thought we were better as friends. And all of a sudden he started calling me names, acting irrational. I asked him to leave. Apparently, well, he didn't, because he ended up breaking my knee, my MCL, my ACL, and also my meniscus. I could not stand up. After he broke my knee, um, he walked away. He went out my back door. He was going towards my back door. And I told him, I was like, well, Anthony, oh, I'm sorry. I told him that I think you broke my knee. He came back and said, well, good. Now you can tell everybody that I hurt you. I don't have a home phone. Only thing I have is my cell phone. So he took my cell phone. He also took my car keys and left. I had to crawl over to my computer and contact my cousin via Facebook, no endorsement, and contact my sister via Instagram. And they came to save me, per se, took me to the hospital. He ended up coming, well, I called my cousin on Facebook, and he overheard everything that was going on. He ended up coming to the same emergency room that I was at. I had told the lady, the receptionist, that, you know, what happened, and he may come look for me. So I thought that he was going to call around, but he actually came to the emergency room, and he walked past me and he looked me dead in my eye. So I waved my hands and asked the receptionist to come, and she ran over to, what's wrong, what's wrong? And I was like, the guy who did this to me just walked past. He actually told her that he was assaulted and he was checking himself in. So they rushed me to the back. They put an armed guard outside of me and they called the police. When the police came, they had him in a separate room and me in one room. So they went back and forth, back and forth, back and forth, trying to get to the bottom of what actually happened. The police officer at that time told me I should have called, because if I would have called, they could have locked him up right away. But he had my phone. There was no way I could call. And this was during COVID. So one thing led to another. I filed charges. We went to court. He ended up not going to jail because we were in COVID and he didn't have any gun crimes or anything like that. So while I was getting prepared for court, I ended up getting two therapists. And when they found out that I was an artist, they told me that I could use my art to get myself ready, not only for the trial, but to get over the impact of him assaulting me. So what you see right here is the Afro series. And they told me to think of my healing colors, use them, and also paint him the way that I see him. I had one called Afro Angry. This one right here is Afro Confused. There's another one. Well, it's 5 pieces within the series, and I would have to say that this lifted so much off of me, and it just felt really great to use my art to heal myself. It felt great to get the images that went on that day when he assaulted me in my living room on canvas. So the red represents, the trauma, the pain. The green represents like me actually letting myself, forgiving myself and forgiving him. Because, if you keep things close to you, of course, I'm not going to forget. I'm not going to do that. I'll be a silly person to do that. But I have to forgive him so I can forgive myself, because I know something inside of me told me not to let him in my house. And when you don't go with your intuition, that third eye that everybody has, you really need to listen to yourself. That's what the green means. That means that, I'm letting it go. I'm going on with my life. The black is just the anger that he had towards me. The yellow is me overcoming and getting back to who I was, but not going back to who I was, being better at it. The gold represents me turning something that was so tarnished to something that would be so overcoming for not just me, but other people that were in this situation.
So it's like the as mentioned earlier, because you created it, the act of creation allowed you to
let it go,
be like a prism, and
right.
and let it pass through you instead of keeping it bottled up and bottled within,
Right.
manifesting, disorder and disease inside.
Right.
And I think that's awesome, because it illustrates that people at home can do the same thing too. And this is naturally what we see our young doing.
And that's something else that I would like to bring up. But go ahead. I'm sorry, I cut you off.
No, cool. I appreciate that. I was gonna put you in this position here. So now, if we're prismatic in our arts and our creations, right? We're beaming different focal points, translating them, broadcasting for the receiver. So now tell us about maybe some of the feedback you've got from the receivers of your broadcast through this stray ink, and how it's helped them through things, and speak on that, please.
Okay, so as far as that is concerned, believe it or not, I sold that whole series. And the reason why I sold that series is because they see it, that series went to 2 people. One person that was interested in one, and then the other person saw it on my wall and bought the rest of them. It shows that I am an overcomer. I'm a victor, not a victim. And as far as art and healing is concerned, especially with young people, I used to teach art after schools. So I was a teaching artist before I started contracting myself out to different companies. And that's what I don't understand why I didn't put the two together when this happened to me. But once you're in the moment, you don't really think about it. But when you have a child that is drawn to nothing but dark colors, um, you have to question that, because that's a problem. They're holding something in. I understand that some people love black. I understand that some people like dark blue. But if you're putting a whole bunch of dark colors together, like dark blue, dark green, dark brown, and black, you should question it, because something's going on in that person's head and they need to get it out. So sometimes they can get it out via art, they can get it out via writing, or music. you know um the colors that people choose, of course they're personal, of course some people just think, well, this is just my favorite color. But if I was to tell you, and you knew me, if I told you that my favorite color was yellow, with the personality traits that I have, I'm happy a lot. I'm a outgoing person. I can talk to literally anybody and things. So those are the properties of yellow. People that usually like the color red are like really, they may not be outgoing, but when they talk, you will hear them, because they have a presence about them and they're loud. And then when they open up their mouth, you're like, oh, okay, yeah, you like the color red. It's something about even the introverts that like the color red. When they speak, and not only do they speak loud. They demand attention. That's the color red. When you get like the color blue, they kind of are easygoing and they'll just fit in. Well, get in where they fit in, depending on what color blue. Now the bright blues, like the sky blues, they're more your happy-go-lucky people, opposed to the dark blues. But once the dark blues find their circle, they will fit in, they will give 100% and things of that sort. So
Speaking of,
reds are interesting and yellows are interesting. I know I get on people's nerves sometimes because, like I said, my favorite color is yellow, and I can always find the bright side of it. I'm like, oh, my dog just got hit and it died. Well, your dog was saved. So he's going to the great beyond, where they can get all the kibbles and bits that they want. Something like that. I can take something that's so traumatic or so big that you're like, oh, I will never come back after this. And I was like, well, like in my circumstance, they told me that I was going to be down for 2 years as far as me and my knee is concerned. And it's been less than 2 years, because my operation was in February and I got cleared 2 weeks ago, saying that, looks like there was no damage to my knee at all. Just run, but not like the wind. He shouldn't have told me that. I'm gonna push it to the limit. But that's just, and my lesson out of this is, number one, I really need to pay attention to the red flags. And number two, where I'm going, my elevation isn't for everybody. And that person was not supposed to elevate with me. So it had to be a happen chance. It had to be something that would snatch that person away from me. And this, that's what happened with my knee. They had to get snatched, because if I didn't get snatched, I would never make it to where I was supposed to be.
Many of us can relate to what we call tower moments, and
exactly.
combined with your interpretation, your translation of my favorite quote, personally, always a perfect day.
Mm-hmm.
So you spoke in the beginning about victory. You
Mhm.
spoke in the latter part here about overcoming, and that vibe made me think of this image here of yours,
Yeah. Hmm.
because for the sole reason alone that it's called cake. And I just
Yeah.
associated that with the victory. And then you start going into the blues and the circles and the yellows and the
Yeah.
reds. And bam, that's a perfect segue to what we got right
Yeah.
here. Tell us about cake.
Okay, so cake is everybody has layers to themselves,
Hmm.
you know, and each layer in you is different. You weren't where you were 5 years ago. You weren't where you were 10 years ago, but that still is with you. You learn.
Amazing.
I love circles because it's 360, what goes around comes around. But the thing is, you have to break that cycle sometimes. That's why you don't see any perfect circles in there, because sometimes you have to shake the narrative. That's what this is about. And of course, I have my yellow up top because my happy-go-lucky person. I have my red doors because you need to hear what I have to say now. My purple, my lavender is the calm throughout the storm. But my light green is actually allowing myself to move on and recreate the person that you call Tracy.
Hmm.
The trees around it represent growth because I have done a lot of growth since this happened, um, personally and business wide. And you have so many windows there because there's nothing out there for me but opportunity. And when people see that, I would like for them to think the same thing. Of course, you have different layers. Of course, you haven't been 100% an angel, but you haven't been 100% evil either. Just be you, continue to grow, and just keep adding on layers. It's like very soon it'll be 18 layer cake, so you might see a bigger picture.
I like
Like,
I like how it's not like a post. It shows the wobble of the
mhm,
climb and the struggle is kind of like
right.
embedded in that, the fact that it looks a little like it has wobble frozen. You know what I mean?
Yeah, because as you can see, I almost fell a couple of times, but you can't stay in that. You got to get out of it. And
Awesome.
just creating things like this for me as I went took me to the next level.
Mhm.
And believe it or not, those are the ones that people like the most. And I'm like, I really went through something traumatic, and you guys are like, great job.
Yeah, because
But
they
it was a
connect.
great job. It really was. And it also reminds people of nostalgia, especially in Baltimore. They call it Baltimore. We have row homes.
Mhm.
And it's like, oh yeah, this looks like us living on top of each other. There's no there's no room. And I
Mhm.
also had somebody say that, this is um this is you climbing a ladder. And it shows how the struggle is. You start off like, yeah, I can do this. And then as you go on, it just feels like, you have so much weight bared on you and you're just struggling to keep the top portion up. So, you know, it speaks to a lot of people. I know I'm not going to say, well, hey, that's wrong, because art is in the eye of the beholder.
Mhm.
But once they hear my story, they're even more interested in buying it.
I agree with that. Once they learn more about the artist and the personality
Oh,
character, you can build more. So you
right.
spoke about being from Baltimore.
Mhm.
Here's a lot of water flowing. You got the
Yeah.
right next to the harbor there. And
Mm.
I really appreciate your um analogy with the row homes,
Mhm.
being from Wilmington, Delaware. You got the
Mhm.
west side and a lot of places like that
Mhm.
um are in that same situation where it's the row homes, but and then you got Philadelphia to the north, same
Yeah.
situation. So tell us about this one here.
Okay. So when I was going through therapy, once I got all of what he placed in me in the way that I saw him, they told me, okay, so think about better times that, in the day, like back in the day, what do you used to enjoy doing? paint about what would make you, you know, used to make you happy. So those things can make you happy again. So of course I used to color yellow again.
Mhm.
And when we were young, and I'm sure they did do this in every major city or whatever, when it's really hot outside, you used to open up the fire hydrants just to cool off, and you know, all the kids used to come out like in their bathing suits, you know, or in their shorts or whatever, and you know, just play in the fire hydrant, even though you knew that you were gonna get in trouble, you know, because the fire department's gonna say, "Oh, we're gonna tell your mom" and stuff like that. But this was one of those things that, you know, I paid tribute to my grandmother. My grandmother, my grandmother used to have a house on the corner of Lanville and Fulton. And that's the first place that I remember around her neighborhood where they opened up the fire hydrant and all the kids came out to play in the fire hydrant. My grandmother was an entrepreneur. I didn't know where I got that from. So I got it from her. So I had to pay homage to, you know, someone that was, she died when I was 2 years old, but when my aunt inherited the house, when I used to go down there, they used to talk about her all the time. You know, she seemed like like she was quite a beautiful woman. She was all about family. And that's how, like, I grew up with my cousins feeling like my brothers and sisters. So this was a painting that I did for my grandmother. And I had the water flowing so fluently because as a child, you have no cares in the world. You're just everywhere doing everything at one time and just having fun. You, it was kind of like water, you went wherever the wind took you, per se.
So let me ask you this about this one, because
Mm-hmm.
I, I'm learning more. I got the book, The Body Keeps Score. I'm reading that, what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
So I'm learning a lot about this.
Yeah.
And, one of the things that I've learned recently is how in those moments of post, right? Traumatic
Mm-hmm.
situations that
Mm-hmm.
you have triggers,
Yeah.
people are respond by going back to the places where they felt most alive. So if I
Mm-hmm.
look at this like a tarot card,
Yeah.
the water in tarot is like the spirit or the soul, you know what I
Yes.
mean?
Mm-hmm.
And I see that flowingness and that carefreeness. My question to you is, when you did this, what, if you thought about it like that or not, but what's the fire hydrant itself represent to you in this picture?
Well, the fire hydrant itself actually, it represented stability. You know, it's it's a necessity, regardless of where you are. Um, if you live in a city, if you live in the and on a backcountry road, you need a fire hydrant. It's protection, it's stability, it's something just in case something happens, it's going to be there. If something catches on fire, you know exactly where it's going to be, you know exactly how to get to it, and you know once you call 911, help is coming. They're going to put that fire. That's the fire hydrant. You know, back in the day, we saw the fire hydrant as, you know, fun and accessibility and, you know, a good way to cool off and things of that start stuff. So it's still stability. Because even though we played in a fire hydrant, if anything happened, we know that that would be there.
We got about 10 minutes left.
Okay.
So I really like that analogy, as it helps articulate how at our most enjoyable time sometimes, right,
Mm-hmm.
is in the same moment as the most unstable. Because if you represented this fire hydrant with stability
Mm-hmm.
and the cap is on, then there's integrity, is complete there. It's sealed, it's uncompromised, and it's waiting for the needed necessity. Whereas here, with the cap being off and the flow coming out so everybody can cool off, it represents a rupture instability and a flow outward from that. Let me get one more up here to give you some time to go over
Okay.
with us, because this is amazing. I appreciate you walking us through your gallery here.
Oh, it's no problem.
Tell us about this one.
This one right here, also nostalgia. My family used to get together during the summertime in the spring, and we would, like, nobody in my family had clubs. We had a large family, cousins, everybody, and we used to go to Druid Hill Park. When you went to Druid Hill Park, there was kind of like a place where everybody in Baltimore City would go. They used to have pony rides back in the day. They had drum circles. They had people playing music. It just felt like a big family reunion every every Sunday.
Hmm.
So Druid Park Drive. That's where the I don't want to say the band. Well, let's say the band. The band Druid Hill got their name from Druid Hill Park because it was somewhere where you used to go, and regardless of what day it was, especially on the weekend, you would find something to do. You would find, um, just a whole bunch of happenings that were safe and family friendly. So this is nostalgia because I was told that my grandmother used to have everybody go to Druid Hill Park and they would have to eat lunch together and ride pony rides and things of that sort, because she wanted to make sure that my family had the same experience as non-Black people would when they were younger. Um, things of that sort. It's kind of like, showing us we're here and this is the stuff that we're privy to.
Mhm.
And we need to take advantage of it, because once we start here, it'll it'll expand our minds so we can start looking other places and growing and knowing that just because we're Black doesn't mean that we can have the same dreams and the same experiences and also the same opportunities as someone who's white, Asian, or Hispanic or anything like that. So that right there just lets me, it was a joy to do this. And then with us being so many different colors, I tried to represent Black people from the darkest to the lightest on here. So as you can see, there's an albino Black person over in the corner looking. Everybody's having fun. Everybody's getting together. Everybody's enjoying what's going on. Everybody's being in the moment. And that's one thing that I think a lot of people don't do anymore. Everybody's thinking about, okay, what's the next step? What's the next step? What's the next step? What's the next step? Which is good. But sometimes you do need to be in the moment. You need to enjoy what you did. And you have to realize that, wow, I hit everything that I wanted to do up to this point. I need to start thinking of other things, or I need to revisit it so I can see some of the things that I may have skipped. So this is an in the moment painting. This is celebration. This is people appreciating people for being people.
That humanity factor that
Exactly.
Lil Wayne states is missing, compassion,
Mm-hmm.
you know. So I really, this is super dope.
Let me tell you something. This was so crazy. I was at a place called the Cloisters. It's a mansion that we have here in Baltimore. And I was showing my art and doing art sales. I had so many people come over to me and say, we never see any representation of us within the paintings or other things that are out there. So that was really what sold my a lot of my stuff, was the humanity in it, the humanity of it all. I never thought about that. I was just painting and drawing what I saw and when I was younger, and just letting other people enjoy what I used to enjoy back in the day.
So light is like triggers to the brain basically, and it enters through the eyes, even the skin. Like, so people need to understand, frequencies that just walking past such captured passion affects you, even if you think you didn't see it,
Mhm.
because it's the radiation.
Right.
What's real quick, 60 seconds.
Mhm.
What's next for Tracy and Stray Ink? Can people get
Actually,
custom work done from you? Commission you to do
yes,
stuff?
people can get custom work done for me. I do it all the time. They can contact me at strayink, STRAYINK, at yahoo.com. But me being nostalgic, and it had me thinking about nostalgia, that kind of got me into drawing and sketching clothing again. But I'm not doing like clothing like I used to do with, like, workout wear, athleisure per se. I'm actually going to do underwear because, back in the day, you wanted some underoos. So I'm going to start doing underoos with my artwork on there and the superheroes and stuff that um, I found that inspired me when I was going through my trauma, and actually put it on underclothes. Back in the day, it was Iron Man and Wonder Woman. You would have the t-shirt and the underwear to match. I'm going to bring that back. It's all about nostalgia. It's time, positive figures for positive people, something that needs to be uplifted in everybody. And if my underwear can do that for you, so I'm in negotiations with that right now.
Hey, do your thing, do your thing.
Yeah,
And I think we've all been in Wally World at least one time and seen the adult onesie. So, you got a
exactly.
lot of potential. Hey, go ahead and let the people know. Say bye to the people and give them how they can contact you.
Okay, first of all, I'd like to thank you so much. I don't think this is going to be our last time talking about this, because I do want to talk to you about music and the frequencies that they play on the radio and which you actually should be listening to. But
Okay.
but my name is Tracy Stevens. My website is Straight Inc. STRAYINK LLC.com. I had to put the LLC because Straight Ink is a tattoo parlor. Go figure. Straight Ink, STRAYINK at yahoo.com. If you want to email me and let me know if you want something custom, or even, just follow me and check it out. Straight Ink on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. But let's not talk about Twitter. I'm about to leave that. I don't like the way that's going.
I heard that. All
And
right.
that's pretty much it. It's very simple. If you type in Straight Ink, even if you Google Straight Ink, you'll get me.
Awesome. Pasha Paroh, White at 7. Thank you for tuning.